Get a little NBA fix for you out there. We talked to Chris Mannix on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen to it at NBCSportsRadio.com as the NBA season. A lot of interesting storylines early, Chris, and welcome back, pal. We talked a little last week about the Lakers and whether or not we should buy into them or not. And here we are again a week later. They're playing well. But one question I want to kind of pick your brain about when we talk about the Lakers and kind of relate them here to the hometown team, the Sixers, is, these are two teams the last couple of years who have not been very good. What is the path that the Lakers have taken that has given them the success? And then you look at what Philadelphia is going on, and they're still kind of struggling along. Are there any parallels here looking at those two teams?
Well, there are certainly parallels in the young talent that both those teams have. I would say the biggest difference is health at this point. I mean, the Lakers, their core has been largely healthy this season. You've seen Julius Randle take significant steps this season from the player he was last year. He had a triple-double just the other night. D'Angelo Russell seems to have shaken off much of the drama from last season, and they've played well under Luke Walton in that kind of free-flowing offense that he adopted from Steve Kerr in Golden State. Now, I think the Sixers could easily be emulating what they're doing if they had all their guys on the floor. But as has been the case too often with Philly, I mean, it's whether it's Embiid having to sit on back-to-backs, the absence of Nerlens Noel, the absence of Ben Simmons, Joey Okafor working his way back. You're just looking at two different teams who are in two different places in terms of health, and that to me is the only difference.
So, I mean, if Philadelphia has Ben Simmons and Embiid are on no-minute restrictions and Okafor and these guys could play, they look like a team that could be in the 500 range?
I think so. I mean, the difference that the Lakers have right now, though, in terms of personnel, is that they've mixed in veterans there pretty well. Luol Deng is there. He is kind of the perfect role model for some of those young players to work around. Timothy Mozgov, a lot of people criticize the money he was given in the offseason, but he has been really valuable for them on their front line. They've sprinkled in veterans in ways that right now Philadelphia has not. So even though I would expect the Sixers with the guys you mentioned and everybody healthy to be significantly improved, I think the Lakers are benefiting from being able to go to proven, experienced players in the middle parts of the games before they, let their young guys try to close it out.
Chris Mannix with us, NBC Sports Radio. Also check him out at The Vertical. Chris, interesting national televised game tonight between two pretty bad teams when you look at records. Philadelphia, Minnesota, but they both have a lot of young talent. When is Minnesota's going to take that next step? When are they going to get that big jump in wins?
Well, I think they'll be much better in the second half of the season this year than they are in the first half. You look at their problems right now, it's closing games, and that's not an unfamiliar story in Philadelphia. The Sixers have had comparable issues, but fourth quarters of games in Minnesota have been bad this year. Their offensive execution has not been good. Defensively, they're still a work in progress, but I expect this team to get much better at that towards the end of the year after they continue to adjust to Tom Thibodeau. And you look at the Wolves, I mean, Andrew Wiggins is playing out of his mind right now. He's averaging something like 33 points over his last 5 games. He had 47 against the Lakers. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is widely viewed incorrectly as the franchise player there, but Wiggins was a number 1 overall pick, and you saw flashes of this type of consistency the last couple of years. If he can, the three-point shot, he's leading the NBA in three-point shooting right now. If he can continue that strong perimeter shooting, that tandem, you're not going to find too many better tandems in the NBA.
Yeah, my question was, whose tandem do you like better? I know Simmons we haven't seen, but do you feel better about an Embiid-Simmons tandem or a Wiggins-Karl Anthony Towns tandem?
I think right now it's Wiggins and Towns just because there's a lot of unknowns with Simmons. How's his jump shot going to come along? What's his health going to look like? As great as Embiid is, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns was just voted the guy by NBA GMs that they built their team around if they could pick one player. So he's great himself. So it's certainly a healthy competition, but I would take the Minnesota duo first.
Yeah, and which is fun because yesterday it kind of leads me into my next question with Chris Mannix here talking NBA. I'm looking around this league, and, LeBron's getting a little older. I still go pay to see him play. Kobe's no longer in the league. How many guys in this league are you paying to go see? And I said, I think if you haven't seen the Sixers play, Embiid is worth going to pay to go to see play. He is one of those, he didn't play last night and they won. I think you're more disappointed that you didn't see him play and don't care the fact that they won if you're a Sixers fan, because he's worth seeing. And I don't know if you have guys off the top of your head, but would you put Embiid on that list as a guy that you would pay to go see play right now?
Yeah, I would put him on that list. It's hard to complete the list, but Anthony Davis is on my list. Minnesota, because not just the Towns, but all the young players they have there, they're kind of excited to watch. Russell Westbrook is on that list. Golden State is on that list. I mean, maybe I'm just a basketball junkie, but I see a lot of players and teams that would be on my list. But Embiid, for what he's doing and what many believe he's going to do in reinventing kind of the center position, becoming a three-point shooter, a perimeter scorer, who can also take you down in the block and beat the crap out of you down there. I mean, he's something to watch. So certainly, despite Philadelphia's record, Philadelphia is kind of must-see TV in some ways.
Hence, they're on TV tonight against Minnesota. Chris Mannix with us here. Some of the big boys that we typically see on TV. We saw last night Warriors and Raptors. And I guess I want to pick your brain on the Raptors and see, are they still the number 2 in the East? How do you size up this early stage of the East with the Raptors? They almost feel like they're forgotten somewhat, but they had to go play Cleveland and Golden State back-to-back. But are they your number 2 in the East still?
It's so early right now that it's tough to get a read on everybody at the moment. I mean, I'm kind of waiting for DeMar DeRozan to cool off a little bit to see what we have really in the Raptors. Boston, Al Horford's been out for 8 games now with a concussion. What do they look like when Horford comes back and Jay Crowder comes back? The team to watch, though, the Atlanta Hawks right now are playing unbelievable basketball. I mean, Dwight Howard has changed that team for the positive. I mean, I was speaking to someone within the Hawks organization just this morning, and he was talking to me about how this is the first time in the Mike Budenholzer era where the Atlanta Hawks can play a physical brand of basketball, where they're not going to be overwhelmed on the glass, where they're winning the offensive rebounding battle, where they're winning the second chance points battle. That's the kind of things that didn't happen under Al Horford. And the way Atlanta's playing right now, if Dwight can stay healthy, and really there's no reason to believe he can't. He's played at least 71 games in 3 of the last 4 seasons. I think the Hawks have a great chance of locking in that number 2 seed as well.
West is fun. Clippers at the top. We see the Lakers in the mix there. A couple teams we haven't seen the last couple of years in there as well. Chris Mannix is with us, NBC Sports Radio, The Vertical, and also covers boxing. I want to get your take on Kovalev Ward, because our local boxing writers here in Atlantic City wish that fight was at Boardwalk Hall, and obviously they can't get the fights to come to Atlantic City now, but this might be one of the biggest fights that the boxing world can make.
Yeah, I'm out here in Vegas actually right now for the fight, and people have asked me, who you got, and I can't tell you. I mean, I have no idea. It's that good, and you're talking not just about a pick'em fight, but you're talking about a pick'em fight between 2 of the top 5 guys in the division. I mean, Kovalev is painted as this big puncher, this knockout artist, and he is. But as you saw at Atlantic City, when he wiped the floor with Bernard Hopkins, he can still box extremely well. Andre Ward, his rep is at a great boxer. If this was at 168 pounds, you'd probably make Ward a decent favorite, but he's moving up to 175, and it's a weight class that he's never faced a big puncher at. As we've seen at times, Ward can have something of a suspect chin throughout the course of his career. So, it's not the sexiest matchup. There is not the household name in it per se, but if you're looking for the best matchup in boxing today, the best possible matchup that can be made in boxing today, it's Kovalev Ward on Saturday.
That's right. We're going to get boxing back here, or is Atlantic City kind of desolate, done?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, I have not heard any talk of any fights being brought to Atlantic City. Obviously, the economic situation kind of is what it is down there. Really, the whole Northeast is starting to get wiped out in some ways, because the new law on insurance in New York City, where you have to have a ridiculously high insurance premium that some promoters just can't pay, that's taken a lot of boxing out of New York. The Atlantic City situation, really the only place you're likely to see big-time boxing, maybe outside the occasional fights at the Barclays Center, might be in Newark or someplace like that, where they can do fights at the Prudential Center. So, yeah, I mean, boxing in terms of being placed in prime location in the Northeast is having some problems.
Chris Mannix is in Vegas for the fight. The NBA rolls on, Sixers and Wolves tonight. And Chris Mannix, of course, on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network. You can listen to it at NBCSportsRadio.com and check him out at The Vertical. Chris, thanks, pal. We'll talk soon.